Hello everyone, welcome back to lesson 13 of the Java tutorial series, and guess what? Today's the day. It is the last lesson of the series. We are almost done. After this video, I would say you will have a solid understanding of Java, if not even more. I can't guarantee you a job or any career position, but what I can guarantee you is your Java skills will be significantly better from day one. I assume that you started without knowing anything with Java. Hopefully you learned something, and I want to take this last lesson to actually take a look at some useful libraries, because these libraries are very underrated. They don't get enough attention, but they're again very useful either for debugging or just some utility libraries that I personally use. So I want to spend the last lesson looking on these. Hopefully you'll learn some uh, useful libraries yourself. It's gonna be a laid back episode. It's not gonna be like what lesson 7, 8, or 9 where it's like hardcore OOP, none of that. It's just gonna be laid back. We're just gonna talk about some libraries and then we're gonna sign it off. So congratulations, you make it this far. Once you finish this video, you will be officially a Java developer. Well, at least on the path to a Java developer. Alright, let us go to Eclipse. So we are in Eclipse. This is from last time we talked about I/O exceptions and file reading and writing. But let us remove all of this because we are first going to talk about probably the most useful / underrated library, which is the random library. Sometimes you just gotta give yourself a random library just because you want to create a random number generator or do something with like C and stuff. So let us do a random number generator. So to do that, let us set our context first, random number generator. So it looks like we can create a new object. Again, random my random equals new random. So again, from the previous slides, I mean not the previous slide, sorry, the previous episodes, from the previous episodes, you can see that this is a Java constructor. So that is how you create your own random object. Yes, not a class, because they create the class, we create the object. So there are a few things we can do here. Most notably, we can do next int, and next int. All that does is it'll print out a random number or a pseudo random number, because there's no true randomness. You should check a theoretical computer scientist with that, but there isn't any true randomness. I'm not gonna go into detail, but basically they take noise from a seed, and that's how they get your random numbers. So to do that, we can do next int, and then we can set a max bound, or we don't have to. So we can do max bound. For example, we can do all numbers from 0 to 49 inclusive, or we don't have to do one. So for example, we can just run this. So let's run this, and you can see it generates every available int. So again, from lesson 2, when we talk about data types, integers can go super big, and obviously this number is pretty big. But if we set a bound, let's generate a number between 1 and 50, you can see that it generates 8 because we set a bound for it. Look, super easy, I promise. Alright, so that is pretty much the random number generator. You can do a guessing game by combining it with the scanner. So all you have to do is do java.utility.scanner, take the user's input. So you can do scanner equals new scanner system.in, right? And then you can take input as, guess the number. If the number is greater than, say, the number is less than or something. So that is how you can do a random number guesser game. And yeah, so that is our first library. Second library we're going to talk about is going to be the Java datetime library. So sometimes you would just need to use the current date or time of the year in your project, because whether it's clock synchronization or whatever you need, date time is always a good format. So to do that, basically we will import java.utility.date, and then we will create a new object. So we can do date now equals new date. So just like that, we have created a date object, and then we must also import another library just so that we can format it. Because right now it's going to print a Unix time, which is going to be a random jumble of numbers. We got to format that. We're going to do java text dot simple. Let's see, simple date format, and that is not the correct library. Let's see if I remember that correctly. Simple date format. Maybe it is in java.utility. Oh, I am very okay. I'm very sorry. Type simple data format, supposed to be simple date format. There we go. I was wondering what was going on. All right, so we gotta format this so that it looks readable. So again, this is a class. It's just packaged. So we will do simple date format equals new simple. I know it's pretty long, but just gotta deal with it. Passing the constructor, and the constructor takes a string, which is basically a string. It will take, for example, we can format this into I'll just give you a simple one. Let us do the week of the day, and then we can do the actual year, month, day, or if you're using imperial system, month, day, year. Let's just do that, and then hour, minutes, seconds, and then okay. Well, let's just go from here. So to do the day of the week, we just type E, and that's pretty much it. It's just E. So wherever you place E, so you can do E like at the very end, and then you can put year, day, whatever you do. But let's put week at the beginning, because you usually say the time of the recording of this video will be Sunday, November 14th. So I mean, not Sunday, Saturday, November 14th. And so to do that, we will say the day of the week first. So you just type E, and then let us format the actual date. So I'm going to do it in imperial, but just like it can also work with the metric formatting, which is this, right? But most people do that, and day, year, like that. And then we can do a hour, minute, second. So that's universal. I don't know anybody else who doesn't use hour, minute, seconds. And we can throw in some meridians in there. We can do a meridian. So that's just type A for the meridian, either the AM and PM, and then we can do the time zone, because time zones are important in letting people know what time zone it is. Usually, if you don't specify time zone, it will be in universal coordinated time. But if you do, it'll be your local computer's time, which will be synchronized with your time zone. So there's a full list online. For example, you can also do like other stuff like week of the month, day of the month, and then we can also do that. So let us print this. So we can do system.out.print line. So let's see what is now. So basically, let us print the current time. So format, we're gonna format now. So now is our date object because we're formatting it. Let's run it. You can see again Saturday, November. And I actually formatted this wrong. Apologies to me. It shouldn't be colon. That looks like a timestamp. Gotta do slashes just to make it look better, or we can do dashes. It doesn't matter. So Saturday, November 14th, 2020, which is gonna be this year, and then you can see right now it is 4:23. 43 seconds. And I'm recording this in the afternoon, so I mean the Eastern time zone of the United States. That's where I live, so that is the timestamp. And just to make sure that nothing went wrong, you can see that Eclipse automatically timestamps it. So you can see that we started running for we can start running this at 4:23:42. And then we ended it at 4:23:43, so it takes about 1 second for it to run, which is average for a program. But just to make sure that is right, that is how date works. Now, besides knowing the date, you can also probably create a clock, and to do that, I am going to show you another feature that Java has, which will help you create a clock. So we can combine this date format, and we can actually make a clock that ticks upwards, each time you run the program. So to do that, let us remove all of this date and month, because we just need a simple clock. And you know what? Let's keep the time zones in. And to do a clock, well, that'll be very easy. So all we have to do is we're going to leave this out of the loop, because yes, you have already heard me. We're using a while loop, and we're using a infinite while loop. I know, yes, gasp. We never use infinite loops, except in a certain circumstance. So we can actually pause the Java thread for 1 second. So to do that, we want to import again. This is one of many of my favorite libraries, but another one is java.unit.concurrent. Right? And then you want to do import time unit. So time unit. So just remember that. And what this will do is it will pause the thread so that your CPU doesn't heat up or anything. So let us see how we can tackle this in making the clock. So to do that, we gotta keep on getting the date or the time right now. So we have to print these two in the loop, but we don't need to format it each time, because I think all it will do is it will format this. So this is the constructor. This is the actual method that's formatting it. So as long as we leave this in the loop, this should be found outside the loop. So let us do that. To do while true, again, never do this without supervision. And by supervision, I mean without the sleep function, which I'll show you right now. So you can see Eclipse already threw an error. If you have a while true loop, you can never get to here. So we just move that in. Alright? And again, which means that this program will never end until you kill it. Which means that, it's a clock. It's a working clock. It doesn't just end by itself. But remember, we will have to sleep. So to do that, we do time unit dot sleep seconds dot sleep. So let's sleep for 1 second. So let us throw a interrupted exception, because that's what it takes, an interrupted exception. So now let's run this. You can see it should be a clock for us. And when you look at that, it is ticking upwards by 1 second. You can just embed it into a GUI or like a applet or whatever you want to do. But that is how you create a clock. You can see we can also refine this clock, because you can see it's printing the previous, the previous the previous timestamps, and that looks very, very cluttered. So to do that, we can counter that by using the flush statement. So to do that, we will actually import this IO exception, because remember the console is a input alpha stream. So import java.io exception. And yeah, okay, so now we gotta throw this exception just so that we can handle it. Again, exceptions, they will exist the more you work with APIs. It's just how it is, because sometimes your computer just decides that, it will act up. So to do that, we will do, actually, we don't need to, we probably don't need to do a IO exception, because I have a better method that doesn't require a library. Yes, it doesn't require a library. So let's remove this IO exception, and we'll just only throw one exception. But what it does require is our custom defined thing. And to do that, we will create our own we'll create our own method to clear the console. So to do that, we want to do public static final. So or we can just do static public static final static. So again, we'll make this a constant function, public void return type clear console. Let us do clear console, and then let's make sure there's no errors. Alright, and then we will actually do a try catch statement, but not with the IO string. I mean, not with the IO exception. We will catch any exception, which I'll show you. Again, another cool trick. You can catch any exception by doing this simple thing. So we can do catch just generic exception E, and this will catch any exception. So it can catch interrupted exception, it can catch IO exception, but the catch is, get the pun, the catch is, you wouldn't know the actual, because the catch is to handle the exception. So what will you handle the exception? Because what will you print? So you don't print. You just do e.print stack trace. So that will just tell you what's wrong. And let's just leave that there. And then, so to do that, we can use the system library, which we can define the final string OS. Now this will access your OS. Now, not actually access it. It'll read from it. And in my case, I am obviously using a Windows 10 computer, so I will type system.get property get. Can we get property? And we will get a property called os.name. So you can see this works for any devices, because whatever operating system the Java virtual machine is on, it will automatically get the OS name. So if you're running this on a Mac, it'll still work. You don't have to change any of the code, because this property will tell Java that you have a Windows computer, Mac computer, or a Linux computer. So that is how we get the property. Now make sure that we can counter this by, for example, in my thing, I use Windows. So if OS, right? If OS that contains, now Microsoft is different from the Linux distros, so we have to do an exclusive if statement just for that, because Windows, if you want to clear the console, you have to do runtime .get runtime, and let us complete that. There we go. It's just a little slow. And then we can execute, and then Windows has this CLS, which is a command line of clearing the console. So again, that's for Windows. That's why we do the if OS contains Windows. Because if you're on Linux, you can do if OS contains Linux, and then you can do execute, some Linux command here. Of course, I know the Linux command for clear. Well, I just said it. It's clear. So to clear, flush the stream, for Linux you do clear, but for Windows, since I have Windows, we do CLF. So now we just gotta run this right before the sleep. Yes, because we gotta clear it before. Hopefully this will work. Because if it doesn't, it might be exclusive for... Yeah, it's exclusive for the command prompt. So if we get open command prompt, it will work. But we can also, since we're in Eclipse here, it doesn't work for the command prompt. So to do that, we can also counter this by using... Okay, so many of them use Linux, but we can try to see that it is very different depending on the software you use. So flashing the stream, it depends. A lot of people use this method, but that's for command line, because you can see that Eclipse can't recognize CLS. But if you open a command prompt, Eclipse will recognize it. I mean, not Eclipse, but Windows will recognize it. So this wouldn't work for Eclipse, but if we run it on a command line, this will work. So it's not useless. It still works, just not on Eclipse because of the IDE issues and stuff. So we can also do a naive implementation just to show you that it works. We can, for example, all we have to do is of course we can go back to the Eclipse console and we can edit all the settings to make sure. But to do that, we can also just do for int I. Again, this is very naive. I suggest you use the previous one for a command prompt. But just to counter this, because Eclipse is stubborn and it doesn't want you to clear, you can see there's a lot of IO exception and all of that. So we can do that by using a new line. So we do, if I equals 0, I less than 50, I plus plus, we can do system.out.println with nothing inside. That way it'll just create a bunch of random new lines. So you'll have the, you can see again, Eclipse is also bugging out, but you can sort of see that it is slowly counting up. In fact, let's stop this and let's move this down here. Let's see how much line is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's do 5. So that should be better because Eclipse has a hard time formatting 50 lines. And again, you can resize this, but I'm not gonna go detail into how Eclipse works because the very beginning I did promise that if I teach this, I wouldn't go play with the IDEs, because the IDEs are specific. You can use Notepad to run Java, and Notepad might not have these fancy features. So I want to keep it fair for everyone. So I'm not gonna mess with Eclipse, but you can see we have a working clock. Still badly formatted, I know, but you can see it creates that flushing format because you can see it is constantly creating new line buffers, and then it creates this basically stop motion picture. So that is it for the time. So we just created a simple clock that counts upward, and that doesn't have like a bunch of crap like running with the other things that coming out of the output stream. So let's admire this clock for a while, or for like 2 seconds. But I'm just gonna leave that here, and in fact, I'm just gonna leave it all here. I I don't have much else to say other than remember this is how you sleep, and the date format, remember random format too. But I guess other than that, that is it for this tutorial. Everything else, leave it up to you. Again, I keep on saying, look at how many libraries there are. These are all for you to explore, not for me to teach. I wouldn't, I can't probably teach this in my lifetime. There is literally hundreds upon hundreds of libraries. And don't forget about custom libraries like Google main libraries, Amazon libraries, all support Java. So, but I assume that you will have the basic understanding to use those libraries and to do great things with them. So, that concludes the series. I hope you enjoyed the series as much as I did, because I have something special planned, which is exactly one day before this video goes up. I mean, after this video goes up. Obviously, we can't do before. But exactly one day after this video goes up, I will premiere a live stream, and this live stream will be a few hours long. But what it is it's combined every single video into one. So you wouldn't have to click through all the videos. I call it a video marathon, but it's really just all the videos combined in one. And it should be, all in one package specifically for you guys to watch. And that way, it will start from episode 1 and it will end right here. But again, I'm just saying, from very beginning, Java, very, very powerful language. Very powerful. In fact, it is equally as powerful as C++ and Python and JavaScript and all of the other, buzz languages you're talking about. This language gets thrown under the bus because it takes a fair amount of learning to master the language, unlike, some other languages that can easily be mastered. But that is what we're here for, to learn and to strive. So, again, I hope you stay safe out there. After this video, I'll probably be going back to my normal schedule uploads. So don't worry, I'm not leaving the channel. It's just this series will be a wrap. And again, I thank you for watching this video and the series. If you enjoy the series, leave a like, and that will help me work on future series. Who knows? Maybe I'll make another series. It depends. But yeah, if you enjoyed this series, please give a thumbs up. And yeah, have a good one.